Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
The winding road stretched out before them, cutting through an autumn landscape lit by golden tones. Rachel and Emily had been traveling for a few hours, talking about trivial subjects, laughing over old stories, and enjoying the comfortable silence only siblings can share. The trip to the mountain cabin had been a tradition since they were teenagers. It was a refuge, a place where they could just be themselves, without outside worries. But this time, something felt different. Rachel seemed on edge, tapping her fingers on the steering wheel, her eyes drifting from the road more often than normal. Emily noticed. "You're acting strange," she remarked, leaning slightly in the passenger seat. Rachel forced a smile, but it didn't last long. She let out a heavy sigh, like she was carrying an invisible burden and had finally decided to drop it. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice lower than usual. Emily straightened in her seat, sensing something serious was coming. Rachel hesitated, biting her lower lip, and then, as if a dam had broken inside her, she blurted it out all at once, "I'm having an affair." The words felt even heavier when spoken out loud. Emily blinked a few times, trying to process what she'd just heard. "What?" Rachel kept her eyes on the road, as if avoiding her sister's gaze would protect her from the inevitable judgment. "I didn't plan this," she whispered. "But it happened." Silence fell over the car. Emily felt her stomach churn. She'd never imagined Rachel would do something like that. Adam had always been the perfect husband, attentive, loving, patient. Anyone who knew the two of them would say he was the kind of man any woman would dream of having. "Who is he?" Emily broke the silence, trying to keep her voice steady. Rachel took a deep breath before answering. "Nathan Cole, a coworker." Emily closed her eyes for a moment, trying to hold back a flood of thoughts. She recognized the name. Rachel had mentioned Nathan in some casual conversations about work, funny, charismatic, always willing to help. But never, not even for a second, did she imagine her sister would cross that line. "How long?" she asked, not hiding the accusatory tone. "A few months," Rachel swallowed hard. Emily pressed her fists against her thighs. She wanted to understand. She needed to understand. "But why, Rachel? What are you doing?" "Adam loves you, he'd do anything for you." Rachel looked away, as if the answer were hidden somewhere in the blurred landscape outside the window. "I know." Her voice betrayed her guilt. "Then why?" Rachel hesitated. The truth was hard to admit, even to herself. But Emily didn't deserve to be lied to. "I'm scared." "Scared? Scared of what?" Rachel bit her lip, trying to find the right words. "Adam wants to have kids. We've talked about it several times, and I always said I wanted them, too. But when the time started to get closer, I panicked." Emily frowned. "You panicked?" Rachel nodded. "The idea of having a child, of changing everything, of becoming someone I might not be able to be, it terrified me. I love Adam, but I started to feel like I was losing control of my life." She paused for a moment, gathering the courage to continue. "So one day at the office, Nathan showed up with that usual smile of his. We started talking, and he listened without judging me, without pressuring me. And before I knew it, I felt free around him." Emily felt a chill run up her spine. "Free?" "Yes. With him, I wasn't the woman who needed to decide about motherhood, about responsibilities. I was just me." Rachel rubbed her hands on the steering wheel, a nervous gesture. "It was a mistake. I know that. But by the time I realized it, it had already happened. And I didn't know how to stop." Emily felt a bitter taste in her mouth. The story her sister was telling was different from what she'd imagined when she heard the initial confession. It wasn't just a physical affair, a fleeting impulse. Rachel was running away. You have to tell Adam the truth. Rachel snapped her head toward her sister, as if Emily had just suggested something absurd. Are you out of your mind? He'd never forgive me. And you think hiding it is better? Rachel didn't answer immediately. Her eyes went back to the road, but her mind was somewhere else. I can't lose Adam, she murmured. Emily crossed her arms, looking out the window. She wanted to say something, wanted to convince her sister to do the right thing. But for now, she knew any words would be in vain. And the worst part was knowing that sooner or later, the truth would come out. They finished the trip, but the tension Rachel carried inside her didn't go away. In fact, it grew. She tried to carry on with her routine as if nothing had changed. She tried to convince herself that telling Emily was just the venting she needed, that everything would be fine if she just kept it secret. But the truth, unsettling and persistent, weighed on her shoulders. In the following days, something about Adam began to change. Small details, almost unnoticeable if you didn't know him well. His smile wasn't the same, there was a mechanical tone in his words, a strange distance that hadn't been there before. Rachel noticed but ignored it. She told herself it was all in her head. On Thursday night, Adam didn't come home at his usual time. No text. No explanation. Rachel waited, anxious, pacing the living room with her phone in hand, the minutes dragging by painfully. When he finally walked through the door, something in his eyes made her hold her breath. Something was wrong. Very wrong. He didn't greet her, didn't even look at her. He walked straight to the bedroom, tossing his keys on the table in a harsh motion. Rachel's stomach twisted. Adam, she called, hesitantly. No answer. She followed him, stepping into the bedroom behind him. Are you okay? You're late, Anne, how long? His question cut her off, sharp as a blade. Rachel felt her heart stop for a moment. What? This time, Adam turned to face her. His expression was dark, a look she had never seen before. How long have you been cheating on me? Rachel froze. It felt like the ground disappeared beneath her feet. She couldn't breathe. He knew. Her entire body went numb. She couldn't form any words. Answer me, Rachel. His voice rose, a mix of desperation and anger. She blinked several times, trying to find something to say, but there were no words that could fix this. He knew. Somehow, he knew. Her silence was the only answer Adam needed. He let out a dry, bitter laugh, a sound that didn't seem to belong to the man she knew. So that's it. Rachel opened her mouth to speak, but he raised his hand, stopping her. I don't want to hear it. I already know everything. She felt a chill run down her spine. What did he mean, he knew everything? How? Adam took a deep breath, running a hand through his hair like he was trying not to lose control. I trusted you. I gave you everything. And you, his voice wavered for a second, then returned, filled with anger. You destroyed it all. Rachel felt tears burning her eyes. Adam, please, he stepped back, as if he couldn't stand being near her. You have no right to ask for anything. She wanted to say something, explain, apologize. But what? That it was a mistake? That she still loved him? None of those words mattered now. Adam didn't wait for more excuses. He left the room, walked through the living room, and headed downstairs. Rachel felt panic rising in her chest. Her heart raced. What was he going to do? She followed him, breathing fast, and that's when she saw it. The studio. The door wide open. The sound of ripping echoing from the basement. Rachel ran there, stumbling down the steps, and froze at the scene in front of her. Adam was holding one of her favorite paintings, the canvas already split in two, the fabric torn by his furious hands. All around him was wreckage. The paintings she'd spent months creating, all destroyed. Her brushes thrown on the floor, broken. Paint spilled everywhere, staining the floor like blood. "No!" Rachel screamed, running toward him, trying to pull the canvas away from him. But Adam shoved her aside, his face filled with pain and rage. "You destroyed me, Rachel. Now I'm destroying you." He grabbed another canvas and tore it in half without hesitation. Rachel dropped to her knees in the middle of the wreckage, tears streaming down her face. "Stop." Her voice was desperate, but he didn't stop. He cut one of the frames with a box cutter. He threw jars of paint against the wall, creating chaotic splatters where her sanctuary once stood. Then, in the midst of the destruction, he stopped. He tossed an envelope in front of her. Rachel looked at the white paper, stained with paint. Adam took a deep breath, like he was holding back a scream. "I never want to see you again." Without another word, he turned and went up the stairs. Rachel heard the front door slam. Silence filled the house. The heaviest silence she had ever felt. Her eyes wandered over the chaos around her. Her studio, the place that represented her essence, was now nothing but ruins. Her marriage, her life, everything, destroyed. Then, with trembling hands, she picked up the envelope. Her name was written on it. And in that instant, she knew nothing would ever be the same again. Rachel stayed there, unmoving, in the middle of what was once her sanctuary. Her refuge. Now, everything around her was chaos. The destroyed paintings, the sharp smell of spilled paint, the pieces of broken frames, all seemed to cry out Adam's pain. For a long time, she didn't move. She just stared at that envelope on the floor, stained with red paint. Her name was written on the front in Adam's handwriting, the same handwriting he used for the letters he'd leave her on special occasions. But this time, it wasn't a love letter. With shaky hands, she picked up the envelope and opened it slowly, as if she were still trying to postpone the inevitable. She pulled out a stack of papers from inside and her heart stopped for a moment when she recognized them. Divorce papers. Her eyes scanned the pages quickly, seeing her name and Adam's in the middle of clauses, signatures, legal terms that sealed the end of everything. But there was something else. A small note tucked between the pages. Rachel swallowed hard before reading it. "I already knew. I was just waiting for the divorce paperwork so I could throw it in your face." It felt like the ground vanished beneath her feet. The paper trembled in her hands. She stared at those short, direct words that were like a blade across her skin. Adam knew. He knew even before asking. Before looking into her eyes and hearing her silent confession. She closed her eyes tightly, trying to hold back her tears, but it was useless. They fell, hot, rolling down her cheeks while her mind spun. He waited. He knew, and still, he waited. Every moment she pretended everything was fine. Every forced smile. Every touch he refused. It all made sense now. He'd already made his decision. He'd signed the end of everything before she even realized she'd been caught. Rachel felt her stomach knot. There was no argument. No second chance. Adam didn't ask for explanations. He didn't want to hear excuses. He didn't punish her with shouting or accusations. He punished her with something far worse. Indifference. To him, she no longer existed. Time seemed to dissolve in that house. Rachel had no idea how long she stayed there, clutching those papers, the note clutched between her fingers, as if she could undo what lay in front of her. But nothing changed. Adam was gone. And he would never come back. Time went by, but the wound remained open. Days turned into months, then years, but Rachel still felt the weight of her choice like an invisible chain tightening around her chest at random moments. She went on with her life, or at least tried to. She moved to a different place, changed jobs, tried to erase every trace of her old life, but some things were impossible to forget. The guilt consumed her in ways she never imagined. Early on, she tried to distract herself with anything, long hours at work, classes, trips. But no escape was enough. Whenever she paused for a moment, when night fell and the house was silent, memories of Adam would flood back in full force. It wasn't just the memory of him. It was the memory of who she was with him. And of who she became after losing him. The affair destroyed everything. Not just her marriage, but her sense of self. The woman who once believed in love, who once saw herself as an artist, someone in love with life, was now just a person trying to piece herself back together. In that emptiness, she decided to start over. She enrolled in law school. Not out of passion, but because she wanted a purpose. Something that made her feel useful, that gave some meaning to her dragging days. Maybe, in some way, she could make up for her mistakes by helping other people. Years passed, and gradually she found some stability. Not happiness, but stability. Then came that day. It was a mild afternoon, the sun setting lazily on the horizon, when Rachel arrived at her mother's house for a family gathering. She had avoided these events for a long time. Even though her family never cut ties with her, things had never been the same since the divorce. There was a silent caution whenever Adam's name came up, an excessive care around her, like she was too fragile to hear about him. But something felt different that day. She realized it as soon as she walked into the house. There were familiar voices in the dining room, laughter, the sounds of children playing in the background. Rachel stopped in the hallway, her body tensing before she even saw them. And there he was. Adam. Her eyes locked on him as if time had reversed. But he wasn't the same man who left that night. He was different. His hair was a little shorter, there were a few new lines on his face, but that wasn't what stood out. It was the calm look in his eyes. The lightness in the way he smiled while talking to her mother. Rachel stood still, unsure if she should go in or just leave. But before she could decide, her gaze landed on something that made the air leave her lungs. Beside Adam, holding his hand, was Amanda. Her cousin. And in Amanda's arms was a baby with light hair. Rachel felt the impact like a punch to her stomach. She looked away and noticed another child playing on the floor, a boy maybe 4 years old, laughing as he stacked colorful blocks. Rachel felt as though time had stopped. He hadn't just moved on. He had rebuilt his life. She barely had time to react before Amanda noticed her. Her cousin gave her a hesitant smile, like she was expecting some kind of reaction. Adam, on the other hand, just looked at her with a calm expression. No anger, no resentment. Only indifference. The scene was crushing. Rachel tried to speak, but Amanda spoke first. Hi, Rachel. She forced a smile. Hi. The silence between them was heavy. Neither seemed to know exactly what to say. Amanda finally broke the awkward pause. I've been wanting to tell you something for a long time. I know we're distant cousins, living in different cities, and that I should have told you, but Adam asked me not to, so I respected his wishes. Rachel felt her stomach tighten, but she stayed quiet. Amanda glanced quickly at Adam before continuing. In the beginning, I was jealous of you. She gave a small smile, like she was admitting something embarrassing. But then I understood. You were the biggest mistake of his life. Rachel felt as if she'd been slapped. Amanda sighed and adjusted the baby in her arms. But at the same time, if it hadn't happened, he never would have found real happiness. Rachel didn't know what to say. She didn't know if she felt anger, pain, shame, maybe all at once. Adam said nothing. He simply took Amanda's hand and kissed her forehead, a gesture so natural, so intimate, it broke Rachel's heart all over again. That's when she understood. There was no longer a place for her in his life. There was no anger, no resentment. There was just a past he had left behind. And she was alone, still stuck in it. Rachel left the house feeling like her heart was crushed inside her chest. The weight of what she'd just seen followed her with every step, like a shadow she couldn't escape. Her breathing was shallow, and the muffled sound of voices and laughter from her family felt distant, as though it belonged to another world. When she reached her car, she paused for a moment, gripping the door handle. Her hands were shaking. She closed her eyes, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to spill. But there was no holding them back. The pain was suffocating, too deep to ignore. She had never imagined it would hurt so much to see Adam with someone else. Of course she knew he'd move on. It was inevitable. But seeing him there with Amanda, with children, happiness radiating from his face, it was like fate was rubbing everything she'd thrown away right in her face. Then she heard footsteps approaching. Rachel opened her eyes and looked back. Emily. Her sister was standing there, a few feet away, with an unreadable expression on her face. There was something in her eyes Rachel couldn't place. "Were you really going to leave without talking to me?" Emily asked, crossing her arms. Rachel let out a bitter laugh. "And what exactly did you expect me to say?" Emily took a few steps closer, hesitating. "I know this must have been hard for you." Rachel laughed again, but there was no humor in it. "Hard?" She shook her head in disbelief. "You have no idea, Emily." A long silence stretched between them. Rachel felt anger boiling up inside, and then she looked at her sister head-on. "You knew he would be here today, didn't you?" Emily lowered her gaze for a moment before replying. "I did." Rachel clenched her jaw. "Of course you did." She exhaled, trying to control the fury growing inside. For a moment, she considered just getting into her car and leaving. But something in her made her stay. There was a question she needed to ask, something that had haunted her ever since the day she first held the divorce papers in her hands. She narrowed her eyes at her sister. "Tell me the truth, Emily. It was you, wasn't it?" Emily blinked, looking puzzled. "What?" "You told him." Rachel took a step closer. "You told Adam about the affair." Emily's expression changed. The rigid posture she'd been holding collapsed, and Rachel knew right then. She knew she was right. Emily looked away. Rachel felt the rage consume her. "So it was you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Emily took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment before meeting Rachel's gaze again. "Yes. It was me." Rachel felt a knot tighten in her throat. "Why?" Emily hesitated, but then, with a heavy sigh, she spoke. "Because he deserved to know." Rachel let out a laugh that was empty, lifeless. "You had no right." "And you did?" Emily shot back instantly, her voice steadier now. Rachel opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Emily took another step forward, her expression filled with something Rachel couldn't decipher. "You expected me to just stay quiet? To look at him, the man who always loved you, and pretend nothing was going on?" Rachel felt her eyes sting. Emily went on. "You can hate me all you want, but the truth is Adam didn't deserve to live a lie. He deserved the chance to decide what to do with the truth." Rachel clenched her fists at her sides. "And you decided for him, didn't you? You ruined my marriage." Emily raised her eyebrows, incredulous. "I ruined it?" She let out a humorless laugh. "Rachel, you ruined your marriage the moment you decided to cheat. I just took the blindfold off Adam." Rachel felt her breath catch. Emily shook her head. "And you know what else?" He already knew. Rachel frowned. "What?" "He knew before I told him. He just didn't have proof." Emily sighed. He was waiting, Rachel. He just needed confirmation. Rachel blinked, trying to process this information. Suddenly, everything made sense. Adam's coldness in those last few days before the separation. His empty stare. The silence. He knew. Emily crossed her arms. I only told him what he already suspected. Rachel felt a tear slide down her cheek. And you never thought about me? Never thought about what that would do to me? Emily looked at her seriously. Did you ever think about what you did to Adam? Silence fell between them. Rachel had no answer. Emily sighed and took a step back. You can hate me forever, but I did what I believed was right. Rachel lowered her head, feeling reality crush her shoulders. Emily glanced at her once more, then turned and walked back inside. Rachel stood there alone, the cold wind against her skin. She finally understood. Adam didn't hate her. He had just moved on. Emily didn't betray her. She only did what was right. And Rachel. Rachel couldn't blame anyone but herself. She looked up at the sky and took a deep breath. For the first time in many years, she accepted that some choices can't be undone. It was time to stop clinging to the past. She got into her car, started the engine, and drove down the road. The wind brushed her face, and for the first time in a long while, she felt something different. Freedom. Life went on. And now, finally, she was ready to move forward. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.